Well, I thought it might be fun to do a little video on some yo-yo history. Now, my kids recently got into yo-yoing, and since they've gotten into yo-yoing, they've been watching a lot of yo-yoers on YouTube, and they've said to me multiple times, "Dad, they never talk about you." When they talk about yo-yo history, and they've said they never talk about tech at all, the history of tech, and they talk about the history of a lot of other tricks. So I thought maybe it would be fun to just do a video on the history of tech yo-yoing, where it comes from, and I was instrumental in that whole style of yo-yoing. The first time I ever even heard the term tech, I think, was in like 2005, when I went to a contest and somebody had said, "Hey, it's the godfather of tech." And he told me that I had created the style of yo-yoing tech, and I had no idea what that was, but it was cool that I had created it. So, but since that time, that's become like a pretty standard term. I didn't come up with the term. I don't know where the term exactly came from. But tech, meaning technical yo-yo tricks. And at the time when I was doing these more technical tricks back in 2000, 2001, when this style of yo-yoing first started, we just referred to them as knot tricks at the time, because you got a lot of knots when you were doing them. I don't know if there was much more to it than that, but the style is now called tech. So numerous times since then, I've been told that I was the creator of the style, that I'm the person who started tech. So I thought maybe then it would be good for me to give a little bit of a history of exactly where tech comes from. So I'm going to play some clips of some older videos to give you all, especially you youngins who haven't been in the scene for that long, because I'm an old guy. I'm 35 and I started when I was 10, so it's been a long time. But I think really it all starts with one particular trick, and that is Spirit Bomb. Now, Spirit Bomb was not that original of a trick in terms of what the trick itself was, but what was so significant about Spirit Bomb was really the mount. And Spirit Bomb was the beginning of a lot of experimentation with different mounts and seeing what you could actually do with those mounts. So Jeff Longoria created this sometime in 2000. I don't know the exact date when this video, the first video of Spirit Bomb, was recorded, but here's the video. So that really set, I think, the groundwork for all tech coming afterwards, because now people are experimenting with different mounts that they hadn't before, things that are a little more complex, and mounts that, if you don't get out of them right, will give you a pretty big knot in your string. So you're doing a lot of really creating and then untangling knots as a significant part of your trick. So following Spirit Bomb, we then come to a time when people start to do some different tricks, combos using Spirit Bomb. So the one that I remember the most, the one that I thought was the coolest at the time, was this one called Superman from Jason Lee. So this was from the Southwest Regionals in August of 2000. So it's not like this is the only trick that's like this, but around this time, numerous people are experimenting a little bit with doing some combos from the Spirit Bomb mount. Now, if you want to see what yo-yoing was really like at this time and the just massive shift in yo-yoing, you can go back and watch the video that was originally on Sector Y. I don't know if it's on YouTube, but it was the clip video from the World Yo-Yo Contest in 2000. And if you watch the clip video from the World Yo-Yo Contest in 2000, then watch the clip video from the World Contest in 2001, there is a massive shift. I mean, yo-yoing just shifted and changed and improved so much in such a brief period of time. So especially, I think, from the year probably 2000 to 2002, if you were keeping up with yo-yoing and what was considered good, what would do well in a contest, I mean, it changed month by month. It was something that would have been done really well, would have won you a contest, 3 months later, all of a sudden wouldn't have, because the scene was changing so fast. There was so much improvement. There was so much creativity going on with players at the time. So it was an exciting time for yo-yoing, but it's fun to watch some of those videos, just, a year difference, just to see how much things had developed. So if you watch that 2000 World Yo-Yo Contest clip video, there really aren't tricks that are really considered tech in any sense at all. But then you get to 2001, I did a tech freestyle at Worlds. That doesn't mean I did that well. I did make it to finals, but I placed 11th, and that's kind of a whole other story of what happened there that maybe would be a fun story to share another time, because I got too nervous and apparently was not even facing the judges during my routine and messed the whole thing up. But that's be a fun story for another time. Wasn't too fun at the time, but it was cool to make it to finals, which was my goal. So, but then when you watch the 2001 clip video, you see so many more tech tricks being incorporated as just kind of a regular part of yo-yoing. So we moved there from Superman there in August of 2000 to what I think then is the next most significant trick in the development of tech, and that is the trick Rancid Milk by Spencer Berry from California. And when people have told me that I was the guy who created tech, I've always said, you can't really say that I started it, because Spencer Berry was doing this stuff at the same time that I was. And at first he was doing it quite a bit better than I was, at least in a much smoother way than I had been at the time. And Rancid Milk was one of the most influential tricks on me, just in showing what could actually be done with the yo-yo. And what you saw with Spencer Berry was that he was able to, and I know that this wasn't true of all of his tricks in his own words, but he was able to do complex tricks in a way that was really smooth, right? That flowed really well. And that's something that you'll see when I show some of my tricks developing this. I didn't do very well at first. But I think Rancid Milk, Spirit Bomb, Superman, those are the three foundational tricks, at least for me, in developing my own style in yo-yoing. So here's Rancid Milk. So I know that at the time, I remember my friends, and I was in Massachusetts. Spencer Berry was on the West Coast, and the biggest yo-yo scenes at the time were in California and then in the Northeast. So you had, especially in Massachusetts, where I was, New York, Delaware, and there was a scene in Chicago as well. But in the United States, it tended to be kind of an East to West Coast kind of thing. So this is what Spencer Berry was doing on the West Coast, and we would often be compared to each other because we were doing a similar style trick. My friends one time told me that we do the same kind of tricks, except Spencer Berry doesn't do underpasses and I did. I don't really know if that's a good thing or not, but that was that was the claim at the time. So then I want to jump from there into quickly just giving you an idea of what some of the most technical tricks when we're leading into the year 2000 were. So we saw Spencer Berry September. Now we're going to look at, this is a clip from Chris Vidral. I don't recall if that's the right way to pronounce his name. It's been a long time. But this is from the U.S. Nationals of October. So here's a kind of tech trick in its infancy. All right, then we move to the next period. We're looking at 2001. Now, 2001, I think, is really the era where this is really the year of tech. This is the year where I think tech developed into its own style. And again, I don't take sole credit for that. I certainly think that there are some other people that certainly could be credited with the creation of the style. Spencer Berry being one, and Eric Twark being another one, who probably is a name that isn't that well known to most of you. But here is, just to give you an idea, this is from February, this clip. This is a trick that was some of my first kind of attempt at doing what then became labeled as tech. Now, I think showing this now, it's not smooth at all. It is something that I'm trying to do some complicated things. I'm trying to mess around with mounts, but it's very slow. It doesn't flow. But you can kind of see in real time, month by month, since I recorded videos every single month of this year, how the tricks had changed and shifted. Then to just compare that to something else, I want to show you the second clip. Now, this is from June of that same year, so it's not too much later, and it's from a video that we recorded, which is probably most influential for its being the video that premiered the trick Plastic Whip that Nate Sutter created, that I filmed for this video. But here's just an example of one of the tech tricks that I did in this video to see how things had kind of improved in that brief period. Then we get to the World Yo-Yo Contest of 2001. This was in August. I made it to finals and totally messed up my routine. Not even just because I messed up my tricks, but there was if you watch the clip video from the World Contest in 2001, you see the state of yo-yoing at the time. And this clip trick of mine was the first clip in this video. And this gives you an idea of the kind of tech stuff that I was doing at this time. And then I want to show another clip. This is Eric Twark. Now, Eric Twark was another guy from Mass. He was from more toward Rhode Island, and I was in the western side of the state. But Eric was someone who was being really creative with the beginnings of tech. Really should be, I think, credited, as we were often doing stuff together and showing each other things at the time. And unfortunately, he gave up yo-yoing pretty much immediately after this. He competed at the Mid-Atlantic Regionals that year, and then he was done. That was it, unfortunately. And I think he placed second or third. The top three were myself and Mark Montgomery and Eric Twark that year. But unfortunately, he stopped after that. But I think he's an important name to remember as part of this history. And he had some really cool, innovative stuff. And then finally, after this, I'm going to just show you another clip. This is where tech ended up in where I was doing it. This was not long after Worlds, and this is from my first solo clip video that I did. And this is the time where I start to feel actually pretty good about my tricks looking back. I think when I look at a lot of my older tricks, I'm like, I think they look so like stilted and not smooth. And but this is the time where I feel like I've really developed it as a style. I'm able to work well within it. So if we're talking about like tech as a consistent style that I feel like is smooth, that's to be done well, it's around September of 2001 that I start to feel like I had been most comfortable with that style for myself. So at this time, Spencer Berry's still doing plenty of things. Enigma is a trick that's invented. I know it was, I can't recall the date of that. I wish I knew. It was sometime in 2001. I did Enigma in my freestyle during the World. So it was sometime by August of 2001 that he had been doing this. And then really by the time you get to 2002, a year after this at Worlds the next year, you've got a lot of guys that are doing pretty similar stuff. And at that point, I think tech had really come to its own, especially kind of 2002 to 2004, 5-ish is the time where I think tech is a very clear and unique style. And some of the tricks that you see from that era, I think still hold up actually pretty well today. So there's my quick overview here. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Let me know if you want me to do more videos like this. I got lots of fun stories about the early days of yo-yoing back in the late 90s and early 2000s, and I was there for all of these crazy shifts and tricks and all sorts of things. So thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.